Okay, so why don't we get started? Why don't we tonight use the 101 prayer books, and we can begin by reciting the prayers. Gary, would you like to recite the prayers tonight? You know, actually, William and Bonnie, if either of you haven't done it before, would you like to be the Umze and recite these prayers?
I'm not sure we'd remember which ones to do or how many times or.
Well, we can help you with that. That's no problem. So why don't we, Bonnie, do you want to do it or William wants to do it?
I would try it, but I'm going to
Let's let Bonnie do it.
do a terrible job on the.
You won't. So we've got,
I can do the English part.
All right.
well, let's just concentrate on the English part tonight.
Go ahead.
Okay, we'll make it simple.
What? You want to do the English?
Yeah, he'll do the English.
And you're going to do the Tibetan?
Sure. With a lot of help from my friends.
All right, well, I like that. All right, that's good. All right, so we'll begin on page 1 and just carry through to the 6 to the 4 the 4 immeasurables. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn off my microphone so there's no feedback.
All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood.
All right, here goes. Dong na la dong war je pe dra no par chi pe ge tar pa dong tom chi ken pe bar du cho par ji pa tom chi ki so ji pe ma nam ka dong nam pe sem chen tam che di wa dong ten drung yel dong drill nyor du la na mi pa yang dog par zog pe chang chub rin po che tu par che.
Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I will perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind.
Tibetan. De che du sang ma ki par du lu nag yi sum ge wa la ko ma she bar du lu nag yi sum gi wa la ko du de ring ni sum ti ni ma sang da sam gi ji par du la nag yi sum gi wa la ko.
We take refuge in the kind, root, and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the yadams. We take refuge in the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom.
Drin Chin Sa Wa Dang Ji Par Che Pe A Pe El Den La Ma Dam Pa Dam La Kap Su Chio Yidam Kil Kor Ji La Sok Nam La Kap Su Chio Sang Ji Chom Den Di Nam La Kap Su Chio Dam Pe Cho Nam La Kap Su Chio Pak Pe Gen Dun Nam La Kap Su Chio Pavo Kandro Cho Kuk Song Pei Song Yi Shi Ki Chen Dang Den Pa Nam La Kap Su Chio.
May all mother sentient be.
What about page 4?
Page 4, not 6.
4.
Thank you. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to Bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages on the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to Bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path.
Zhang Chub Ning Por Chi Ki Bar Sang Ji Nam La Kab Su Chi Cho Dang Jang Chub Sem Pa Yi Sogla Yang Di Shin Kab Su Chi Ji Tar Nong Ji Di Shin Ki Zhang Chub Tung Ni Ki Pa Dang Zhang Shub Sempe La Pa La Di Dog Rim Shin Ni Par Tar Di Jin Dro La Pen Don Du Zhang Chub Sem Ni Ki Ji Xing Di Jing Du Ni La Pa La Rim Pa Jin Du La Par Ji.
Short refuge prayer. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. by the merit of the generosity and other good deeds, may I obtain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
Sangji cho dang suk ki chuk nam la, cheng chub bar du dag ni kab su chi, dangi jin suk ji pe so nam ki, tro la pen chir sang ji drup par shuk.
The four immeasurables. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversions.
Ma nam ka deng nam pe sam chen, tam che di wa dang, di wei ji dang, den par jur cheek, duk nal dang duk nal, ji ju dang, dral war jur cheek, dang nal mi pe, di wa dang mi dral war jur cheek. Ni ring chok dang, ni dang dral wei, tang nom la ni par jur cheek.
Very good. That's excellent. Thank you both.
You're very kind.
I have to say that the pacing was very consistent across the board, and it's a really nice pace to pay attention to the text. It's really nice, and even the Tibetan was right on par with the beat. So very nice. You should do this. They should do it again.
You're very kind. I'm sure I butchered it, but I tried.
I think we should make you the official umzays.
With some language classes.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah, but not Tibetan.
We tried learning Vietnamese when our foster son's wife and daughter were going to come over. And boy, that's a hard language.
It's a very hard language.
We met with the monks in our Buddhist temple and laughed most of the time.
Well, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for asking us.
Thank you.
All right. So we're talking about chapter 9 in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. So this is the antidote for not knowing what the method of the practice to achieve Buddhahood. How do we, if someone said to you, well, okay, how do you achieve Buddhahood? You say, well, I don't know. Or you say, well, we do Bodhicitta. We learn what Bodhicitta is. That's the method to attain Buddhahood, to recognize that we have this Buddha nature. The cultivation of Bodhicitta is what leads us to being enlightened, being liberated, recognizing the Buddha. So this Buddha nature, we call it Buddha nature, but it's like it's a true nature. We've said this before. It's the same as what the Christ would be, or what God might be, that in most people's mind might think of what God is. It's something within us that is been with us our whole entire lives, and something that is indestructible and is part of us. And the Buddha is always there. When we talk about making the enlightened ones or the Buddha happy, it's making ourselves happy. It's making that within ourselves happy. And, sometimes when we do things that are really heartfelt and we're doing something for someone else, we don't feel it in our brain. We don't feel it in our physical body. We feel it in our heart center. It's our Buddha nature that is recognizing those good deeds or whatever was done, whatever for the benefit of someone else. And that's the Buddha that recognizes it. So when we say that we're trying to make the Buddha happy or something like that, we're trying to make that inner self of ourselves happy is what we're trying to do. So it's always there. So on this handout that I had sent to you, and I hope that you have in front of you, you either printed or maybe you've got in your computer. But nevertheless, last week we went over these 22 similes of bodhicitta. So I'm not going to repeat them tonight, but it is a very profound practice to go and read these and contemplate these, go through these very slowly and think about them, each one of these. And I've been doing this for years, and I may not do it for 6 months or something like that, go and do this particular 22 similes. But when I do it, it's always so profound. It always, I hear something new in there. I realize something new in there. So these similes are a key way of being able to bring mindfulness of these Dharma teachings to our awareness, to make us mindful of them. So the 22 similes is something that you should take a look at. And then we talked about the next page, the primary characteristics of bodhicitta, which is the ultimate bodhicitta and the relative bodhicitta. So again, it's written here. I'm not going to repeat it. You can go back and you can, watch the recording that we have on YouTube for that. And the two truths are explained in here. And these are very basic parts of Mahayana. So if you weren't here last week, I really encourage you to go and watch the recording and listen to it and pay attention to it. Use the book as if, it was all live and so on, because it's very important. So as I say, it is these are the essence teachings of Mahayana. Mahayana being the Bodhisattva, being bodhicitta, being the true truths, being emptiness. These are the main teachings of the middle way of Mahayana, which was the great vehicle teachings of the Buddha. The first was the Hinayana, then the Hinayana, and then after that is the Vajrayana, or the indestructible vehicle, or the pathway, whatever, and that is the way of the wisdom tradition to actually become a Buddha. So the Mahayana is to become a Bodhisattva. The hero is the Bodhisattva. We'd like to become the Buddha, but the immediate hero of the Bodhisattva of the Mahayana is to become a Bodhisattva. In Vajrayana, now it becomes the Buddha, to actually become the Buddha.
Hey, Lance.
Yes.
I heard you say that you characterized the Vajrayana as the wisdom tradition.
Yes.
Is there a single word to describe the Hinayana and the Mahayana traditions? Is the Mahayana then the compassion tradition and
The Mahayana would be the Sutra tradition,
okay,
and then the Vajrayana would be the wisdom tradition. The Sutra tradition and the wisdom tradition, yes. And the Hinayana then would be the discipline tradition.
okay.
So so now there are these different lineages. So, you know, the lineage is where there is a great teacher who then has disciples, and then those disciples become great teachers, and then they have disciples, and then they become great teachers, and so on and so on and so on. So all of us are following the lineage of Shakyamuni Buddha. We're all in that same lineage of Buddhist Shakyamuni Buddha. However, there are other lineages that are, like the Drikung Kagyu is a lineage. The lineage was founded by Jigden Sumgun. And then for 800 years since, there's been this unbroken lineage of the Drikung Kagyu. But it is subordinate to that of Buddha Shakyamuni. And there's many other lineages like that. So in the Kagyu tradition is one of the schools of Tibetan Buddhism. So there's the Kagyu, there's the Nyingma, there's the Shakya, and there's the Galupa, and also the Bun tradition, the original Bun tradition that has incorporated Buddhism into their shamanistic tradition. So those would be the 5 schools of Tibetan Buddhism.
Lance,
Yes, sir.
I know this is too long a question to answer, but if you can just give me a little synopsis. What brought about the establishment of different traditions and lineages? What inspired someone to say, well, let's do this a little differently, or let's add something, or whatever it was they were doing to cause them to establish the Kagyu lineage? And then,
Well, it wasn't something that might have been intentionally, you know, say, I'm going to start this lineage and it's going to last for 800 years. I don't know if they had that kind of mindfulness. Maybe they did, but I think it was that there's this coalescence of wisdom and energy and ability to be able to communicate that to others, that all comes together. And then because it was so rich that there were many followers, and then it was so significant and had something that was special about it, that now these students then continued to follow it even when the founder, whoever it might have been of that lineage, passed on. And then the lineage continued. And they said, oh, you know, this is the heart son, or this is the wisdom son of our master who just passed away, and I'm going to continue teaching in the same way, and so on like that. So I think it's a coalescence of several different things that that just can't be denied, and just allows to continue to flourish. So that's,
it's not like different denominations or something like that.
it could be described as different denominations. You know, it's all relative to the same thing. Remember, it's all part of the same lineage of Shakyamuni Buddha, but it's different ways, and maybe in the way it's approached, or, you know, some unique set of teachings or something like that. You know, someone composed. And for everyone that has been successful, every lineage that has been successful, I'm sure that there's been many, 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 many more that didn't survive. You know, that lasted for a couple of generations or 3 or 4 generations, but then at some point got subsumed by those more successful lineages. So if you're interested in that, it's a great topic. and to to do a PhD on it would be really something very powerful.
Those days are behind me. Thank you.
But yeah, there's lots of books, that talk about, these lineages and the history of the lineages and so on. And just in particular, the one for the Drikung Kagyu, I've been studying that, and that's enough for me. And it's really quite amazing to see the generational vicissitudes that the lineage goes through and so on. So there are books on that, and if you like, we can talk about that in another time. So, but very broadly now, within the Kagyu lineage, within this Kagyu lineage, and the Kagyu lineage is the lineage of the yogis, the lineage of the practice, the lineage, the blessing lineage, the realization lineage, are all names that are associated with the Kagyu lineage. So when Buddhism came to Tibet with Padmasambhava, it was already well over 1,000 years old in India. And so as it came, then these different schools developed and so on, and it was all oral tradition. The teachers were mostly teaching from their experiences and so on. There were some books that were written in India, but they weren't, the people there weren't very literate, and they would have had to translate them from what might have been the Pali or maybe even the Sanskrit into the Tibetan language to be able to do that. And it wasn't until Marpa, we talk about Dorje Chang Talopa Naropa Marpa, he was the great translator. And he would go down into India and Nepal and bring back these books, and he was able to translate them into Tibetan for the people. So, so even before that came, still in India, where this the Bodhicitta was being taught, the Mahayana was being taught from around the time of 200 AD or so. The first teacher was Nagarjuna, and he was a great master, and he kind of started. He wrote a book, or he wrote a series of teachings and everything called the Madhyamaka. And again, I'm no scholar, so I'm not the best person to talk about these things. But very generally, he was teaching the middle way and teaching the way of the Bodhisattva and so on. So, and then the successors that came out of him continued to teach. So the idea of bodhicitta was the subject, was the main topic on which they were trying to express. So first came this, what they call the profound view lineage, the aspiration lineage, holding the view. So what this means is wanting to have bodhicitta, wanting to be a bodhisattva. And this was the focus. This was the mindfulness focus of many, 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 many practitioners for this time and so on. And they were aspiring to do this. They were developing this aspiration. And it was like wish fulfilling jewels and so on, and prayers of supplication and receiving the teachings and having, the teachings come in and developing a meditation and so on. So it was all this aspiration. And there were these great yogis here. There were these great masters here that you can see in this page 2 of this handout. And you see it starts with Buddha Shakyamuni. And then it goes to Arya Manjushri and Chandra Kirki and so on. So I can't go into all the detail of them because I'm not familiar with all of them. I'm, generally familiar with some of them. And until we get to the last 3 of the profound lineage, the profound view lineage, there's Nagarjuna, who created this Mahayana school, and then Shantideva, the tradition of that, and Shantideva is who was the author of the Way of the Bodhisattva that Khenpo Samdop has been teaching on. So he was a disciple of Nagarjuna, and then he himself became a great master based on his writings. And then it was a while later that Gampopa then came, and through the request of his teacher, who was Milarepa asked him to write down and consolidate what was now an oral tradition. So there might be books. The books were only read by a few of the masters. They were memorized, and then they were taught orally as the masters would go around from village to village in India, in Nepal, in Tibet, and to these different places and so on. So they didn't have these books. It was an oral translation. And then things started getting a little bit askew because one teacher would teach it this way, another teacher would teach it some way else, and so on. And maybe some of the gravitas of what was trying to be conveyed was getting lost. So Milarepa realized that and asked Gampopa to compose a book that would bring all these not disparate, but all these different oral teachings together in one book. So that's why Gampopa is listed here. So, so this aspiration lineage was detailed in all, so he compiled all these, different teachings into the Jewel Ornamental Liberation as the aspiration for Bodhicitta. Then, out of that comes the action lineage. It says here, the profound action lineage. The action lineage, doing the best you can. So the profound view lineage, the first one, is wisdom, is gathering all the teachings. Here's all the wisdom. Here's all the books. Here's all the scripture. Then the action lineage is, well, here's how we practice all that wisdom. Here's the method to be able to actualize that. And now we need to work on the activity of doing that, of bringing these wisdom teachings to a practice. So, and doing the best that you can. The wisdom lineage would have a very distinct hierarchy to it. And it was based on debate. Debate was a very important aspect of the learning process. And some people are just better debaters than other people. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they know the topic any better than someone who is not quite a good debater. So, but the debate was a method by which, this exchange of wisdom was being exchanged in the aspiration lineage. In the action lineage, now it became, you go off by yourself and you go off and do your practices. You develop your practices that are based on the teachings, on the wisdom lineage. So you're developing this method as best you can. So there was a degree of being able to cultivate your own kind of practice, your own style, and so on. So this was the profound action lineage, the method lineage. And as you can see here, it's based on Buddha Shakyamuni, and then Arya Maitreya, and then it goes to the Asanga, who developed the school for this. And then the tradition was carried on by Dharmakirti. And then you see Atisha and you see Gampopa now bringing this together into a book, along with the aspiration lineage. So all this is trying to articulate and write down, codify, if you will, bodhicitta, what it is and how we cultivate it through the action lineage. So any one of them can lead to enlightenment. However, if we have the benefit of both of them, there is great success. They're a catalyst for each other. It brings on, it allows a speediness to be able to become the embodiment of the teachings, of the bodhicitta, of the practices, and so on. Then comes the blessing lineage. The blessing lineage is the meditation lineage, or the lineage of realization. This blessing lineage is the lineage of the masters who really intercede on behalf of the student, of the pupil, of the practitioner. And this is headed by Dorje Chang Vajradhara. So what this means is the other two were led by Buddha Shakyamuni. Buddha Shakyamuni, what was his motivation? What was the motivation of Buddha Shakyamuni? Was Vajradhara, was this primordial Buddha. So in the blessing lineage, this is the motivation for this lineage, is Vajradhara. There's a connection with Buddha Shakyamuni, but it goes even more profound than that. That there is this unconditional, unqualified, unexpressed connection with this primordial nature within ourselves. So some of us might be inspired by something that we read by one of the masters, or if we met a particular Lama or something like that, and that Lama becomes a very big influence on our lives. Some of us may already have some kind of a connection with something that is undefinable. And as they meet these different teachers, they say, oh yes, that is speaking to that which I have within me already. So that which is with me already could be said to say that that is the Vajradhara, that is the primordial Buddha, that is Dorje Chang. That is something that goes deeper than the Lama. So this blessing lineage, you see, is our lineage, the Drikung Kagyu lineage, where it says Dorje Chang. Well, actually, it's the Kagyu lineage, not necessarily the Drikung Kagyu, it's the Kagyu lineage. Because it says here, Dorje Chang, Talopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, and Gampopa. So this is the blessing lineage where you meet the Lama, where you meet that indescribable primordial connection with this master who really accelerates your development, your cultivation, your awareness, your experiences, and so on, are magnified, or I shouldn't say magnified, but are sped up by that. So if you can have the aspiration lineage, if you have the teachings, if you have the action lineage where you've been developing meditation and practice and so on, the method, and then you have the master to come and give you the blessings, it becomes, it's like you can cut it with a knife. It's so thick. It's so powerful in your lives. So these are the lineage, the three lineages that we talk about. So in our lineage, we in the Drikung Kagyu now, so to meet His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche, who is the throne holder of our lineage, he is a direct lineage throne holder going back to Jigden Sumgun. He had a heart son. Jigden Sumgun had a heart son. It was like a Dharma brother that was very, very, very close to that particular guru, to that particular teacher. And that was Garchen Rinpoche. Yeah, he was the Garchen. Yeah, it's a different name, and I don't know his name without looking it up. But he was the first Garchen going back 800 years ago with Jigden Sumgun. our Garchen Rinpoche today is the 8th incarnation of that Dharma son, of that heart son of Lord Jigden Sumgon, that every few generations he is reborn and comes and is a great, force within the Kagyu community and so on. And so Garchen Rinpoche is that today. And if you've had the blessing to be able to meet Garchen, it's unmistakable that he is a very powerful being. In Tibet, he is considered to be a Buddha. That what he did for the Tibetan people at the end of the Cultural Revolution and so on, they say was, the same as the deeds of Buddha Shakyamuni, of what the Buddha would do and so on. So it's very powerful. So to have met him, to have met the throne holder, His Holiness Chetseng Rinpoche, and have these other teachings and so on is very, very, very powerful, very, very significant.
Lance,
Yes, sir.
and can you just give me 30 seconds about what he did? I know who he is, of course, but I really haven't read a detailed biography or anything of him.
Well, during the 20-year Cultural Revolution, Buddhism was completely suppressed.
Mhm.
The 6,000 monasteries were destroyed, and people weren't allowed to do any practices or anything like that. People may have done them, in the secrecy of their home, but they certainly didn't do it as groups and so on like that. So in 20 years, a whole generation of people did not receive any teachings, did not receive any blessings by the lamas, by any kinds of empowerments or anything like that. And for that generation, there was nothing to be able to ground them in Buddhism. So when Garchen Rinpoche and the Cultural Revolution was over, and all those Buddhists were released from prisons, they did different things. Garchen Rinpoche, he started by himself to go from village to village to start teaching and to give empowerments and to revive the Buddhism. And so because of that, he brought Buddhism to many, many families that didn't have it, that it was suppressed, it was gone, to generations of people who now had it in their midst and so on like that. So he was very, very important to do that. Plus he inspired many other lamas to come after him to continue that. So that's why.
Thank you.
So we go to the next section here, and it talks about the causes for the cultivation of bodhicitta, the aspiration to benefit others. So if you remember when we talked about, the definition of absolute and relative bodhicitta, that we're doing this for the benefit of others, and that by doing that, if there's any benefit, they get it and we get it. Our motivation is not for our benefit. Our motivation is for the benefit of others, and then we get the result of that. So this is the aspiration to benefit others. So it talks about here that it has the perfect noble family. So it's talking about the Buddhas, and it's talking about the Bodhisattvas, the 8 great Bodhisattvas, and learning, about the Dakinis, learning about the Taras, learning about all the great Sambhogaya Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the intellectualization of the Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is unborn, is inexpressible. But then as we try to explain it, it becomes a Dharmakaya, and this becomes the noble family. So this is the aspiration to benefit others, to be able to teach this to other beings. To fully attend the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, and the spiritual master. Cultivating compassion for all sentient beings. The inspiration of a spiritual master. So these four things are the component parts that help to become this aspiration lineage. So it's said by a Sangha here in the Ornament of Mahayana Sutras, relative Bodhicitta, it says inspiration of the spiritual master. So the spiritual master, the teacher, the Lama, the Guru. And here this quote is very important. It says, due to the power of friends, the power of cause, the power of the root, the power of hearing, or through virtuous tendencies, bodhicitta appears stable or unstable. When it arises from the proper ceremony conducted by others. So what this is saying, that through this aspiration and through the intervention of these, masters, and through our yearning to have this and everything, we may have success, we may have stability, but we may not. There's no way of absolutely knowing until it's really tested. Then in ultimate bodhicitta now, it says, when the perfectly enlightened one is pleased, when the Buddha within you is satisfied, when that Buddha within you is awakened, when you realize that Buddha, that's being pleased. It's not a Buddha out there, it's the Buddha in here. When the accumulation of merits and perfect wisdom is well gathered, and as we're accumulating wisdom, skillful means, we're accumulating loving kindness and compassion. When we're accumulating that as well gathered, when there is non-conceptual thought, perfect wisdom in the Dharma, non-conceptual thought, when we are able to sit on the cushion, when we're able to attain a transcendent awareness of our true nature and of the relative nature of the phenomena all around us, when we begin to recognize that, that is to be held as the ultimate bodhicitta. When we realize this within ourselves. So that's the hallmark. No one can look into someone else and say, oh, this is a realized person. Oh, this is a Buddha. Oh, this is a bodhisattva. No one can say that. However, through our own experience, we can have glimpses of that. We can have visions of that. We can have stable visions of that. We can attain that through ourselves. In the beginning, it can be dubious. We're not sure, is this a really valid experience? Am I experiencing the right thing? And through our humility and through our being able to be patient and being able to see what needs to be purified, what we need to continue to do to be on that path, to be able to do that, is the test of our bodhicitta, is the test of our Buddha nature, to be able to recognize that. That's the ultimate bodhicitta. And it takes time, it takes patience. No one else can see that for us, but ourselves for ourselves. So it says here, in other words, ultimate bodhicitta is achieved by reading scripture or studying, practicing or contemplation, and realization, meditation. So all three of those things come together. Can we do it with scripture only? It would take a very, very, very special person to be able to do that. Could it be done with contemplation only? Again, it would take a very special person to be able to do that. Can it be done with meditation only? Again, it would take a very special person to be able to do that. But if ordinary beings who put themselves on the path of study, contemplation, and meditation, Now there is a pathway that is very, very stable, that is very well articulated, that we all have a great opportunity to be able to attain enlightenment. So that's what we talk about. We receive the teachings, we listen to the teachings, we read the books, we receive the teachings, we contemplate the meaning of those, we think about those, we take them apart, we put them back together again. And then we allow ourselves to meditate on them. When we exhaust the contemplation, we can't think about it anymore. Then we spontaneously have the transcendent meditation experience. When we go beyond that knowledge, that intellectual thought of what all this is, and we go beyond that, then we reach the Dharmakaya. Then we're reaching the Buddha nature, the true nature. And it begins as a glimpse, it's just like that. And we don't anticipate, we can't make it happen. It happens by itself through relaxation, through going through this process of study, contemplation, exhausting the contemplation. And you're sitting there just relax, and then it comes up. The wisdom comes up. The awareness comes up. The realization comes up. It was there the whole time. And you'll say to yourself, oh, it was there the whole time. I just didn't recognize it. Just the clarity, just the blissfulness, the peacefulness, the unimpededness to be able to do anything and everything that you need to do. So it's all wholesome, because we will have gone through all the parts to be able to purify ourselves. We will have gone through all the virtue and the non-virtue, and we will have eliminated all that. All that is eliminated in the discipline. All that is eliminated in the contemplation, so that when we are in that transcendent nature, all that stuff, all the emotions are now put away. They're all gone. They've been conquered. It's not that they're put away. That's the wrong word. It's that they have been transcended, and that we see the dualistic nature, but we're not bound by the dualistic nature. We're unimpeded. We're not bound by the phenomenal nature. We're free of the phenomenal nature. We still may be in the midst of the phenomenal nature, but we're not attached to it. We have no aversion to it. So Kempo was talking about it today. He was talking about that, with patience and with generosity and so on. He was articulating that very well. So that's the aspiration path. The method path, the ceremony, is, it says here, Shantideva's aspiration, view, lineage, tradition, method. And it says Atisha method. So this gets a little bit into some finer points, and I'm not going to do a particularly good job of being able to describe all this, but I'll try and do it as best I can. So here it says we go through a preparation. So the preparation here is the 7-limb practice. So we do the 7-limb practice when we do deity yoga. We didn't do it tonight, but in this book and in our prayer book, it's on here on this page, it's page 10. And we talk about the 7 limbs. So we get to know that, we get to recognize that, we get to see that. Our body and our intellect and our body, speech, and mind becomes that tree, becomes that 7-limb offering. And that's the preparation. Then we do the actual ceremony, taking the Bodhisattva vow. So taking the Bodhisattva vow is page 4 in this book, which we did recite tonight. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas, the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. So that's the ceremony of becoming a Bodhisattva. This is the tradition lineage. This is the method lineage of becoming a Bodhisattva. That's the ceremony, doing that. And then the conclusion is offerings and appreciation of the triple gem, and meditate on vast joy and happiness about the great accomplishment that has been achieved. So what this is the deity yoga, getting involved in the deity yoga and doing this for the benefit of others. Deity yoga is one example of that, and that gets into the Vajrayana, but it's doing these practices and dedicating it to the enlightenment of other beings is the conclusion. Offerings and appreciation of the triple gem. Om, Ahom, may my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha and all the enlightened ones. This is the conclusion of that ceremony. So every time we do these prayers, we're doing the ceremony. Now we can start looking at it as that. Every practice that we do, every study we do is a method practice, is an action bodhicitta practice. So that was in Shantideva's lineage, the way Shantideva would explain it. And if you're partaking in the way of the Bodhisattva, that's what that book is all about. Now, Dharmakirti, in the Dharmakirti school tradition, it says we cultivate aspiration bodhicitta, and the preparation is supplication to the master, gathering accumulations, prostrations and offering, special refuge, Buddha, non-dual, non-existent, actual ceremony, conclusion, the great joy, meditate on great happiness, and so on, explanation of the teachings by the master. So this is a much more elaborate process, which includes more teachings, more practices, more developing prayers, reciting prayers over and over. It's much more of a monastic way of looking at things, a much more, parochial way of doing things. So Dharmakirti, so it's very old school. And the second part of Dharmakirti is holding the vow of action bodhicitta, where we have the preparation, the supplication with dialogue, the actual ceremony, and the conclusion of the vows. So this is a little bit more like Shantideva's, but not quite as deep as what Dharmakirti had. In many of these traditions in India, you could only become liberated, you could only become enlightened if you were a monastic. In the early years of the Buddha, he taught the Hinayana, he taught the Mahayana, and he taught the Vajrayana simultaneously. But what most everybody heard was the discipline, was heard the Hinayana, was heard the monastic way. And then continuing on with the Mahayana, that was continued. It had to be done through the monastic way and so on. However, he was also teaching that this is available to everyone. If someone has the karma from past lives of maybe being a monastic, but now they're born into an existence, into a life where they're not a monastic. They choose not to be a monastic. They still, if they have the karma, they still can be liberated. They still contain enlightenment in their lifetime. And it's through the process of, study, practice, contemplation, and meditation that they do that. But they are closer to it by virtue of their karma, by the work that they've done in past lives that we may not see, that they themselves may not recognize per se, but yet they have the confidence, they have that spiritual pride within them to know that they have this Buddha nature, that they have this true nature within them, and they're just looking for the right vehicle, the right ripening for that to come out. So now, regardless of how we get there, now, if you have the book, The Jewel Ornamental Liberation, if you want to know what the ceremony is for this Bodhicitta, for this tradition lineage, you can look on page 166 and page 168 of the Jewel Ornamental Liberation. So if you've got that book, my copy is downstairs, so I don't have it right here with me. But if you have that book, it's included in Gampopa's teaching in the Jewel Ornamental Liberation, so you can read what that is. So remember, this chapter comes out of that. So does anybody have any questions or comments about any of this? I know it's been a lot and it hasn't been real detailed, but maybe it's whetting your appetite to want to know more and to continue on this pathway of learning and absorbing as much of this as you can. So are there any questions or comments?
So, in our tradition, what is the typical practice or ceremony around taking refuge, making the vows, etc.?
Well, it's quite simple, and you request the Lama to take refuge, to take the vows, there's refuge vows and there's Bodhisattva vows. So it's great to be able to take them with the highest Lama that you can. And sometimes, it becomes like this badge of honor or something like, oh, I got my vows from this Lama or that Lama or something like that, And sometimes they'll ask you, oh, who did you take refuge with? Like it makes a difference, But you request that you want to take the vows. And then usually during a significant teaching time, the Lama or the Guru or somebody like Garshan Rinpoche or His Holiness Chidseng Rinpoche will announce that they're going to do this. And for about a half an hour, they do this ceremony, and maybe there'll be 20 or 30 or 40 people that will be doing it for the first time, but the rest of the Sangha will be doing it, although they've done it many times themselves over and over again. And so it's a teaching on bodhicitta. It's a teaching on refuge. It begins with that. And then it goes and it says, okay, so now you have to take your vows. You have to take the precepts that you are going to take a vow to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha as your refuge. And that you are going to take a vow of bodhicitta, of loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, and that you're not going to change this for anything else. That this is your vow, this is your refuge. You're taking a commitment to do this. So in Catholicism, it's a lot like taking your communion and taking your confession and taking your not the commitment, the confirmation. It's a lot like that. So here, same thing in Buddhism and so on. So the verbiage of what you say is in the book, and it's basically what I just said. It's a little bit more flowery and so on, and I don't have it with me right now to be able to read it, but you can read it yourself and see that. So it's really simple, and you're not taking the vow with the Lama. you're taking the vow yourself with the Buddha. You're taking it with the three jewels. You're not, the Lama, the Guru, is bestowing the vows, saying, here, repeat after me. You don't have to read it. He's going to give you what it is to say, and he'll say one line, and you repeat the line, and he gives you the second line, you repeat the second line, and so on. He's bestowing those vows. You're taking the vows. And then in return, in the case of refuge, he will give you a little card that gives the date and gives you your Dharma name and gives you some instructions and some very basic prayers to take and so on. And that Dharma name becomes your Dharma name until you would go to the next stage, would become a monastic. And then you would get a monastic name. So for most of us, we've got our Dharma names because we've taken refuge and so on. And the Bodhisattva vow is that we are going to be on the path of becoming a Bodhisattva, and we are going to, make loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity our main focus. That's everything that we're going to do. That's our aspiration, that's our action, and we're receiving the blessing from the Guru to help us to do that. So I hope that answers some of it.
Lance, I have a question. If we have taken refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha at another temple, is it important to take it with, say, this temple also, or is that enough for our life?
It's not imperative, but it's always good to restate your vows, to refresh your vows. And so, yes, if you have a new teacher and you're in a new Sangha or something like that, sure, it's very, very good to do that. Very powerful. You should do it. You should not avoid doing it.
But you can't do that during the COVID? We have to wait to do it in person or what?
Well, not necessarily, because, it may be done, they're giving empowerments over Zoom and so on like that. And when you take an empowerment, you're doing the refuge vows. You're reciting the refuge vows. So you can do it, but because remember, it's not that you're taking it to that Lama, you're taking it with yourself, with the Buddha. And where is the Buddha but no other place than within you?
Okay.
So you can certainly say that there is a gravitas of being in the presence of the Lama, being in the presence of the Guru. There certainly is that. I wouldn't deny that at all, but you can have that gravitas within yourself if you have cultivated that, and so you could do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so unless if you want to take a break, we could take a short break. If not, we'll continue on and finish this up here tonight. Okay, so everybody's staying put. So now we talk about the beneficial effects of bodhicitta. So the accountable beneficial effects. So here is cultivating aspiration bodhicitta and cultivating action bodhicitta. So first, the aspiration is we're entering into the Mahayana, the middle way. It becomes the basis for all the bodhisattva training. All evil deeds will be uprooted. Unsurpassable enlightenment becomes rooted. So what that means is that we're planting the seeds for enlightenment. We may not see that fruition. We may not see that sprout, or we may see it sprout, but it not come to complete fruition. We may see it grow and we may see flowers come. We may not see the fruit. It depends on many things. but it will be rooted. The seed will be planted. One will obtain limitless merits. So we begin because of our accumulations of wisdom and merit, we're accumulating these things. All the Buddhas will be pleased. So the Buddha within myself and all the other Buddhas, that all these Buddhas, we talk about, this indestructible jewel, this diamond that is within us, all these Buddhas are within us. And figuratively, they are pleased because they are going to be actualized. So it's a figure of speech that we're saying they're going to be pleased. It's not like they're sitting up in heaven looking down at us and saying, oh boy, these guys are doing all these wonderful things. It's not quite that literal. It's within ourselves, there will be satisfaction. There will be pleasing awareness of this. There will be confidence in this. One becomes useful to all sentient beings. That because we are on this path, we're always looking for ways to be able to help other beings. That's the work of the Bodhisattva. We're always finding out ways to be helpful, not to be an obscuration, to be a blockage to people. And people will ask us to do things, and instead of putting them off and finding ways to avoid helping them, we'll find ways to help them. And it may be an inconvenience for us, but we do it because that's the work of the Bodhisattva. We develop, unsurpassable compassion, skillful means, One quickly attains perfect enlightenment. So this is the pathway to achieve that perfect enlightenment, a stable enlightenment. We may have glimpses of enlightenment. With just some of the stuff that we've been talking about, we do some meditation. We may have some glimpses. We may have, this epiphany comes to us. These aha moments come to us and everything, but they're gone as quickly as they come. They're not stable. But as we do this, as we develop this aspiration and we're working on our knowledge base and we're doing all these things, that this enlightenment becomes more and more possible, more and more stable, and more rich, more profound, more understanding. It's not just a heartfelt thing, but also we can articulate it. It's part of what we do. It's the body, speech, and mind. The body, speech, and mind. Our speech becomes richer with us. And if all that we talk to is ourselves, that's okay. But if we can talk to our brothers and sisters, and we listen to the teachings, and we talk to other people that come in or maybe ask us things and everything, and we find that we get in conversations, and sometimes if we're really doing this heartfelt, that wisdom comes up. We say things that are wow, sometimes surprising to us. Say, oh, I've heard that said before, but I've never said it before. I've never said it myself. But now, the things are coming together. So this is a very good sign for that to happen. And that's part of the reason for the debates. If you remember, I said a while ago in the Aspiration lineage, the wisdom tradition, they have these debates. And that's to get the pupils to be developing a stream of consciousness. And that stream of consciousness, things can rise up. Garbage can rise up too. You have to be careful with that. You can start telling yourself deluded things, and deluded things can come up. But you have to be vigilant about that, and and pay attention to the questions that people ask, because that delusion can be pierced through very quickly through the questions that people ask. And if you get out there on a limb and you're talking about something you don't know, and you're making a story about it, you'll know it. And then you gotta back down. You gotta say, you know what, I'm talking about things I shouldn't be talking about. So now cultivating action bodhicitta is the prior 8 benefits, the aspiration benefits that we already mentioned, plus that one's own benefit rises continuously. So the example I was just giving of entering into conversation with people is a way that this benefit comes, and that we develop this like protection shield around us. Things that used to make us emotional won't make us emotional anymore. We may not even recognize them as something to make us emotional. They may be happening, but we're not paying attention to it. We don't recognize it. Or we say, oh, I know what that is. I'm not even going to go down that path. I'm not even going to talk about that. I'm not going to think about that. And you move on. So those are examples of protection. And then we find that good things, happen to us. If we do good things come to us. If negative things come to us and we transform them by doing good things, if we recognize the non-virtue and we turn it around with the virtue, then we get a positive result, and we get a virtuous result. So this is how we benefit. And all that is accruing in the bank of dharma, and merit is accumulating and so on. And then we're rising up, we're going around that spiral, and the turns of the spiral are getting smaller and shorter and tighter as we get to the very, very pinnacle, as we get to the top. So less time is being wasted. More time becomes pure. And then the next one is the benefit for others arises in various ways. Suffering of sentient beings is dispelled. They are established in happiness, and the afflictive emotions are cut. So we find ourselves being in the midst of other beings, maybe family or friends or strangers or whatever, and just our presence can make a difference in their lives, because we may have this serenity, we may have this peacefulness, we may have this wisdom, we may have this skillful means, that they are in this chaotic state, and they're recognizing us, you, as being someone who can be relaxed, can be settling, can help them in this time of desperation and so on. So we can help in many profound ways that are very easy to us, but to those beings who are suffering like that, it's terribly confusing. So we help them to establish in happiness, and afflicting emotions are cut, so that maybe they're afflicting emotions of hatred, of jealousy, of ignorance, and so on. And, oh, when I'm with you, I really want to learn more things. Or when I'm with you, I can't think about negative thoughts and so on. An example of this is when we approach the Lama. Very often in teachings, there's the Sangha, you're in the shrine room, and there's the Lama who's sitting up on a throne, so it's all very theatrical, from that point of view and so on. And during the breaks, many times the Lamas will just remain sitting on the throne while everybody else goes out and gets tea and does the things that they do. And they invite you to come and talk to the Lama. Or maybe you schedule an interview with the Lama. There's a special Lama coming, or maybe it's Khenpo Samdup, he's a special Lama, but you make an appointment, an interview with him to talk to him and so on. And so you go up to see the Lama at the front of the room during the break, or you make this appointment with the Lama and you go meet him at a prescribed time. And as soon as you get there with him, your mind just disappears. Whatever questions you have, whatever thoughts that you had, just go away. Because of their blessing, their peacefulness, their virtue just fills you, that whatever question you had, whatever doubt that you had, whatever confusion you had, just evaporates just because of being in their midst like that. So that's an example that can happen to you, but that can happen with you, with other beings. Remember, it's all kind of relative, you know, and whatever degree of enlightenment that you have now can be an influence in somebody else's life that has none at all. So we need to honor that. We need to respect that. And that's an example of the benefit of others rising in various ways. So the action of bodhicitta is the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections. The action of bodhicitta is the 6 paramitas, or the perfections. So we studied this. It's been a couple of months, and you've got notes on it, you know, and you've got books that you can go back to. And these were the 3 mind trainings. The mind training of moral ethics, the mind training of mindfulness, and the mind training of wisdom awareness. This is action bodhicitta. And incorporated in that, as part of that, are the 10 non-virtues and the 10 virtues. So all that training has all that stuff in there. It's so important. And so if you don't remember it, you know, this will give you motivation to go back and look at it again, and will give you motivation to, you know, join Buddhism 101 again, because we're going to repeat it. We're going to start Buddhism 101 again on Monday, and to get back on that path. And it'll become much easier to you, and it'll make more sense to you, and you'll take better notes, you know, because now you begin to see connection points, and you say, oh, you know, last time I wasn't paying much attention, but this time I got to pay more attention to this. I got to take better notes. So this is the action of action bodhicitta, is the 6 paramitas, the 3 mind trainings. And then there's the unaccountable beneficial effects, where all good qualities arise from this time until one becomes a Buddha, so that they are unaccountable. So what does that mean? The Buddhas are transcendent, above any attachments or any aversions. So there's no accountability. The Buddhas are not the fault of what samsara is. The Buddhas are not the fault or the cause of what nirvana is. They are teaching a method by which that was achieved by Buddha Shakyamuni. And it's up to us to be able to bring that in to our mode of learning, practice, perfection, to be able to become the Buddha ourselves. And then all that suffering. Now, we cannot remove other people's suffering for them. We cannot cause other people's suffering for them, or we can't cause their happiness for them, but we can show them this way to be able to achieve that. It's up to them. They are the ones who are accountable. We are accountable. Those beings are accountable. We're accountable for our happiness and for our suffering. We take responsibility for that. So the realization of this is a great benefit. So now, the disadvantages of losing bodhicitta. We can gain bodhicitta. We can develop this. We can remember this. We can have all our notes. We can do all this thing. But then things can happen where we lose lose our bodhicitta. So just because we get a stability in bodhicitta doesn't mean that it's permanent. So it says here, by weakening the cultivated mind that deceives sentient beings, one will go to the lower realms. By weakening the cultivated mind that deceives sentient beings, one will go to lower realms. So this would be something like our arrogance. Okay, like a Pratyeka Buddha. Oh, I've attained these things. I got these skills. I know how to do this. I can talk about that. I've got these levels. I don't feel any suffering and all this and everything. Don't I feel good about that? And I start making judgments about people, and I start saying things about people, and I start withholding things from people and so on, not acting like a bodhisattva or acting like a Buddha. And then my bodhicitta just goes downhill. I lose my bodhicitta. One will go to the lower realms by virtue of my doing these things. I'm being pulled down by selfishness, by miserliness. I'm being pulled down by ignorance. I'm being pulled down by hatred. Oh, I won't teach them. I don't like those people. So we wind up going down into those lower realms is what that is referring to. One cannot be of benefit to others. So if we lose our bodhicitta, we're not going to be able to help other beings and so on. There's no sincerity. There's no heartfelt exchange. When we go into the shrine room with the lamas and we receive the teachings, we receive the empowerments and the prayers, and we share the prayers, are we just reciting the words cerebrally? Is that the right way to say it? Through our minds? Or is it heartfelt? Is it really something visceral that we can feel within ourselves, and we can feel the heart of the lamas, of the gurus coming in? And can we feel the heart of our brothers and sisters in the Sangha reciting these practices and prayers? Can we feel all of that? Is it with us? Or is it just this, this emptiness of any connection point, of any spirituality? Is it just a cerebral experience and not a heartfelt experience? It will take a long time to attain the bodhisattva's vows. So it says, bhumis. So it says if we lose our bodhicitta, if we're not practicing our bodhicitta, then it's going to take us a much longer time to be able to achieve the higher levels of being a bodhisattva. So the bhumis are the 10 levels of being a bodhisattva. So we talk about being a bodhisattva, and we may have glimpses of that, but to really be on the bodhisattva paths means that we will have had to accomplish a great deal to really consider ourselves to be a bodhisattva. We will have to overcome emotions. We will have to overcome the 5 poisons. We will have to overcome wisdom obscurations. And by doing that, we will have developed these accomplishments of practice and samadhi and so on. So we can repair those. If we've lost our vows, we can repair them. We can take them over again. And we can, so we're repairing them. So that's part of our practice. And it's not unusual to do that. And we need to take responsibility for that. So it says here, the cause of losing bodhicitta, the cause of losing aspiration bodhicitta is forsaking sentient beings, adopting the 4 unwholesome deeds, deceiving the lama or others worthy of worship, inappropriate cause of remorse in others, through aversion, saying improper words against the bodhisattva, deceitfulness against sentient beings. So you can see there's this idea here of just being non-virtuous, but maybe being non-virtuous of the mind, being non-virtuous of the speech, not necessarily, harming people physically, with hurting someone or sexual misdeeds, but you can do things, that have a spiritual value, that have a mind value to them. And that causes us to lose these vows, to lose our bodhicitta. The cause of losing action bodhicitta is giving up aspiration bodhicitta, heavy afflicting emotions, giving up the mind training, generating wrong view, non-harmonious mind. So, we can go through periods where we take a vacation. We take a break from our studies. That's one thing. But to give up on the teachings, to give up on our practices, to say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't believe this anymore. Whatever I have gained is now gone. We lose that. We can build it back up. We can reinstate it. But once we begin to give that up, we say we're not going to do it, it's not going to be there for us when we want it again. It's going to be gone. So now the method of ripening, the method of repairing, if one lost aspiration bodhicitta, it can be restored by taking the mind again. If one broke the action bodhicitta vow through loss of the mind aspiration, it is restored automatically by restoring aspiration bodhicitta. So we can build it back up through our aspiration, and then we have to re-engage in the action again. So depending on what degree it was that we lost our vows, what degree we lost our bodhicitta, it's all relative, and how much work we have to do. But it's saying here that all is not lost, that we can repair it and we can regain where we were and go beyond it and reach entire enlightenment is quite possible.
Question, Lance.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting language here. So if one lost aspiration, bodhicitta can be restored by taking the mind again. So this is to assume that we lost our mind previously, right?
Well,
And we got to.
the mind of Mahayana.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Say more, please.
Well, the things that we learn in Mahayana, the benefits of the sutra, it's the sutra lineage, or the sutra family, that the bodhicitta, the two truths. If we no longer believe the two truths, if we give up on compassion, we give up on loving kindness. I said bodhicitta. We give up on those things.
So the mind might be a simile for the specific path or the viewpoint.
The mindfulness, yes. That becomes our mode of operating.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we didn't literally lose our mind and have to go find it, but.
Oh, no. Well, figuratively, that's what we will have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But Gampopa wasn't saying that because they didn't use those terms back then, right? That you lost your freaking mind. So.
I don't think they said freaking.
No. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I mean, does that make sense? I mean,
It does. I just needed to know what it was connoting.
Yeah, I mean, to me, all this stuff is very practical.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a big stretch of the imagination to understand what these things are. It's all very practical stuff. So if we lose our faith, in the Mahayana, we lose our faith in the Hinayana, You know, I think that's another way of expressing this. Okay, anybody else have any thoughts or questions?
Lance, isn't this what happened, of course, on a more horrific scale in a somewhat different way in China when they totally upended all spiritual practice, including Buddhism, and destroyed all the temples, and people were actually unable to even speak, much less practice openly their Buddhism or any other type of spiritual practice?
Well, I think I understand. I think I understand your point, but I think the issue is that the people that did that were not Buddhists. The people that were forced to not practice and so on, they may not have lost their faith at all, you know, but the people that forced them to do it, they didn't have it to begin with.
Oh, I understand that, but the impact of what they did disconnected
Right.
people from their practice because they couldn't do anything, and over time, the atrophy of that experience.
So then that was the example of Garchen Rinpoche and the other lamas who went around reinstilling that into people. It was so well appreciated, and they had such a hunger and a thirst for that. They just, you know, they just absorbed it like crazy. So yes, they didn't lose their faith. They may not have lost their faith. There may have been some that did. You know, there was a lot of, you know, there was 1 million people that was killed in Tibet when the Chinese came in, and many more people were stripped of their robes and so on, and made to marry, made to you know, have ordinary lives and so on, or they left the country, they went into exile, and then they lived, you know, different types of lifestyles, and they gave up their Buddhism. You know, to what degree, I can't say about everybody, of course, you know, but I'm sure some maintain their faith, but some maybe lost their faith altogether. You know, so that's quite possible.
I heard of it when I was in Taiwan in 1970, and I was not practicing Buddhism, but I was acquainted with some, and they just told me that I knew horrible things were happening in China, but they said horrible things were happening to our people. And I connected with it in a rather distant way. I knew there was a bloodbath, but I didn't realize the impact on.
Yeah. So we're very fortunate, you know, you know, we have the benefit of that, you know, of the Cultural Revolution and people coming out, you know, into the rest of the world and so on. And it's another reason for us to have, you know, to develop this strong, heartfelt connection with these teachers and with the Dharma itself, and realize what a gift this is and what it has cost so many people, you know, to share this. You know, I've been with lamas. I haven't seen it in a while, you know, because the lamas we see now are second generation. You know, they may have been born in Tibet, but they were very young when they left Tibet. And the lamas who were, you know, born and raised in Tibet and who grew up in the lineage and now are passing away, you know, many of them, when they start talking about these things, and I've been in the room with them, I mean, tears just start coming down their eyes. They start, you know, recounting, you know, the things that happened and the people that were lost and the Dharma that was lost, and just the thoughts of these 6,000 monasteries being destroyed and so on. It just, you know, tears would just be coming down their eyes and so on. It's amazing. And the courage that they have to, you know, now be in a free land and be, you know, trying to teach the Dharma to other people. And there have been some lamas who I know have gone back to Tibet, who came to the West and then go back to Tibet and live underneath the tyranny, but to be there, with their people and so on. Okay. So bodhicitta is very, very powerful. And I think, with the Parnasavari practice, we can see that is a great example of bodhicitta, that Parnasavari, invoking the wisdom of the five empowerment deities and so on. And then, to be able to do the practice and to have this milky nectar that's flowing through Parnasavari and going out to all these beings and thinking about that and everything, it's very powerful. It is a very act of, of bodhicitta practice to do those practices like that. And that's why I said that by doing this practice, which has a very practical reason, a very immediate reason for it helps us with the other practices that we do that may not seem as such an imperative as it is right now with the coronavirus. I mean, what do they say? What, there's going to be another 75,000 people or something like that who are going to come down with the disease? Another 50,000 people are going to die? I've lost track of the numbers, but great. Who are those people going to be? They're going to be people who didn't think they were going to get sick. They're people who didn't think they're going to die. And it could be us. So we really need to use the protection of the Dharma, the protection of Parnasavari, the protection of bodhicitta for the benefit of others and for ourselves. And like I said, there's a practical application here right now that is so important, that we got to do this like our life depends on it. So this is our life. What are we going to do for the rest of our lives? This is, we're thinking about bodhicitta and practice and everything. For myself, I said, I looked at my life in three stages. I had my early life, and then I had my career life, my business life, my family life, and now I got my spiritual life. And when I retired early. I retired when I was 62 because I wanted to have enough strength to really be able to put into my spiritual practice, into my Dharma practice. And, I said, I don't know how many years I'm going to have left. Am I going to have 20 years? Am I going to have 15 years, 5 years? Am I going to live to be 100? I don't know. So far, I've gotten away with 12 years of it, but what better thing, what more important thing do we have to do I have to do for the rest of my life? Is it sit and watch tennis on television, or is it to go play tennis, or is it to, go to the bar with the guys, or whatever you want, whatever you think your alternatives are? What's more important? How do we want to spend the rest of our lives? Do we want to spend it, just biding time and just killing time till we die? Or are we going to try and make a difference in other people's lives? A positive spiritual difference, whether it's Buddhism or it's Christianity or it's Hinduism or it's Judaism, whatever it is. Does that spirituality mean something? And is it worth actualizing? I think it's an important question. So, well, if there's no other questions or comments, we can move on to do our dedication prayers, and we can adjourn. And next week, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be doing the Mani Drupchen retreat with Drupan. Everybody's invited to come. You should register for it if you haven't, if you want to come. If you need the link, I'll send you the link again for it and everything, the information. But if you're going to do it, you should sign up for it and so on. And if you do, I think it's $40 a day they request. If you can't afford it, you can make an offering. Whatever you can make is fine. If you can't make an offering for anything, that's okay too. But having said that, if you can be generous with Drupan, you know, it's courtesy. It's part of the generosity to the Lama, to the Dharma, to make an offering to him and to the translator. You know, in the case that sorry, I can't think of her name. I know her so well.
Virginia?
Virginia, thank you very much. Virginia is going to be doing translation, so it's customary to, if you can, to make an offering to her as well. So if you can do that before, that is the noble way to do it. That's the way it's done in the old country. But if you wait until afterwards and you make the offering, or you may make a modest offering in the beginning and recognize the value and add another offering at the end, whatever you want to do. But I can tell you that it'll be a transformative experience if you do the whole thing, and whatever you do, you can join in, there'll be a benefit.
Lance, with registration, is there a vehicle for allocating funds to each of those domains or people?
Yes, if you go onto their website, there is a place to make donations. So I signed up, I did that. Actually, what I did, I sent a check to them. So I didn't use their on-site thing. So I can't say if they got a box on there to say send money to this one or that one. I can't, I'd have to look to see.
Okay.
Try. Okay.
Is that practice something that can be continued or done throughout the day, even if you're not in the retreat? Like, you know, if you're out and about doing your job, you know, but just kind of like trying to practice mindfulness. Is that something that you suggest could be done, or what do you think, Lance?
It's the Mani mantra, so it's Om Mani Padme Hum Shri. So you can recite Om Mani Padme Hum and visualize the mantra garland going around the Shri syllable. You know, like we.
Right.
But that's the mantra, and then there's different melodies that they use at different times of the day. But if you just recite it, Om Mani Padme Hum, or Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, whatever, you know, yes.
Yeah.
So be mindful of that. And then if you can come in and tune in when you get home after being out and about and connect for a little while with that'd be great. So yes.
Yeah. Curtis, you said that you have some like recording of the mantra, of the different melodies. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I think that they're going to use the same melody because they've done it for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Got 6 recitations with different syllables.
Uh-huh.
And I have an audio too.
Yeah, that will be awesome. Thank you.
Lance, do you know if Kempo Sundop is going to be doing the Way of the Bodhisattva on the weekend?
I think Lance is frozen.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yes, you know.
Lance is in samadhi.
Bonnie,
I think it will be.
I think he will be doing
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think he will be doing the way to Bodhisattva on Saturday and Sunday
Okay.
next week. So, how you guys doing?
We're doing
Great.
well.
Good.
Are you
Good. Good.
Lance is back.
tired earlier? Are you okay?
Oh yeah.
You muted, Lance.
He's got
Muted.
he's got the Dharma voice, and we just can't hear it.
All right, sorry, my computer locked up. So it happened to me earlier today. Zoom is getting notorious for this. All right, can you see and hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I forgot what the question was. Oh, we were talking about the Om Mani Padme Hum, the chanting for the for the Drupan, for the Drupshan.
Yeah. I think we got through that. Curtis said that he was going to email us some of the recordings.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. All right, well then, if we can carry on then. William, would you like to do the dedication prayers on page 18 of the prayer book, please?
Dorji, Chang, Tiplo, Narapa, Marpa, Milarapa, Dharma Lord, Tampopa, Fangmo, Drupa, and Lord Drinkopa, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessing of all the Kagyu Lamas.
By this virtue.
By this virtue may I achieve the all-knowing state, and may all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating all enemies, confusion, the cause of suffering. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is born, may it rise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray the Lama may have good health. I pray the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. As Manjushri, what is it? Manjushri, the warrior realized the ultimate state, and as did Samasabhapa, I will follow in their path and fully dedicate all the merit for all sentient beings. By the blessings of the Buddha, who gained the three kayas, by the blessings of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessings of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit.
Next page.
By the virtues collected in the three times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drinking Pa, Ratnashri, who is omnipresent, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through the study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Glorious, holy, vulnerable, precious, kind, root, and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yamas, yidams, and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, yoginis, and Dakinis. Dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate root of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or the rebirth as a Shrivaka or Pragya Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and my obstructors who harm, misleading Maras, and all the hordes of demons, experience the happiness, the separation from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, and ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that, may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such and the pervading clarity of the Dharmadaya. May I, in any case, gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo.
You're beeping again.
Om, ah, Om. Om, ah, Om. Om, ah, Om.
I think Lance has to finish it.
Hmm?
I think Lance has to finish it.
May the body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha and all the enlightened ones. Thank you all very much. Thank you, William, Bonnie, Michael, Gary, Adrian, Tom, everybody came on. Yes, thank you very much.